Okay, everybody ready to go? You all good, Kevin? Okay. All right, welcome back, everybody. We have finished our closed session. We're moving into the regular body of our briefing. We're going to open up with the treasurer, Lisa Frazier. Hi, Lisa.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I have a few items for you this morning. A couple of them are just my annual things, but a couple of them are new to you. So first off, I have the Mason County Electronic Funds Transfer Policy. And BARS requires and authorizes us to use the RCW requires us to use electronic fund transfers such as ACHs, wires, and those types of things. And we have been doing that. And I think we've had really good internal controls as part of that, but we haven't had them formalized in a policy. The RCW directs the state auditors to set those policies or those internal controls out in the BARS. And so according to those BARS and the RCW, I have before you a EFT policy for the county. This has been worked on by the audit committee over the last several months. And so it is here and ready to go, hopefully. If there's anybody online from the audit committee that would like to speak to it, I would welcome them to join us. But I've gotten feedback from both the financial services department, the auditor's office, my department, those up in public works, all of us that, work with ACHs, whether the money's incoming or outgoing, I have taken a look at this, and a policy is modeled after another county. So it's not something that was recreated or, from scratch. So.
No, thank you for all that work on that. Leo, did you have something you wanted to say?
Nope, just wanted to thank Lisa for all her work, and I appreciate it.
She's pretty awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm also on the audit committee, and we're in full support of this. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Lisa?
No, it looks great. It's neat to see things are being updated like they should be. So I appreciate you.
The state auditors will be very happy with this when we get this passed. And I apologize I didn't get it done sooner. Life in the treasurer's office can be extremely busy at times. So, but I think it's ready to go. And so I would hope that we can move this forward to your next commission meeting for approval.
Yep. Kevin, do you have any comments or questions, or are you ready to move this forward?
I am good to move forward.
Mr. Trask, good to move forward. Okay, as am I. Thank you, Lisa. What else you got?
All right, my next item is the 2023 property tax refunds. I'm required to report to you annually for the refunds that I have approved for the prior year. And it's just an acknowledgement of receipt that would come before your next board meeting for you to acknowledge that you received the report from me.
I have not seen any issue on it. Anybody have any issue?
Nope. Looks
Then
good.
we'll go ahead and move it forward. Thank you, Lisa. What else you got?
The next one is the 2024 uncollectible personal property taxes. So these are those taxes for businesses and or mobile homes that have disappeared from the county that we have taken all of the steps that we can in order to try and collect those taxes and are not able to do so. The total of that is $409.02 for this year.
And I'm good with putting this, moving this forward. Commissioners, anything?
Good with me.
Good with me.
Okay. Anybody have anything, questions for the treasurer?
I have one more item for you,
Oh.
and this is just a discussion item today.
Okay.
Mark had reached out to me last fall, early winter, to talk about the possibility of some interest on Commissioner Netherland's part to reduce the gambling tax rate from 5% to 3% to match what Kitsap County charges. And so I did take a look at the ordinance that we had passed, and I took a look at Kitsap County's ordinance and gambling policies, and Was just bringing this forward for discussion at this point because that is something that the commission will need to decide whether they want to do or not. There are currently 3 businesses in Belfair, 1 in Allen, and 2 surrounding the city of Shelton, totaling 6 businesses that pay gambling tax in the county.
And one of the things with that, I'm one of the ones that had asked for that after meeting with a restaurant, but also some of the nonprofits that are out there, like the Eagles and stuff who do this. We had a more onerous system where they could do 2 different ways. So it was a 5% of 5% of net, 3% of growth. There was different ways of doing it, as they were saying to me at the time, and they were asking for a streamlining of it like Kitsap, and there's other entities that have talked about maybe wanting to do it if it can be streamlined like that. Then I seen what Lisa put together, and boy, that was a lot more streamlined than I ever dreamed. She just went to town. It was completely different. I didn't have much I could say because literally I never expected that much of a, but it was extremely well done. I was
Kitsap County has a really thorough policy and ordinance, and so it did become a bigger project than I thought, than just whether or not we were going to do a 5% or a 3%. Currently, Mason County does 5% of the gross on the taxes that they collect. I don't have any nonprofits paying gambling tax. They're all exempt at this point, so I don't have any nonprofits paying gambling tax. I only have 6 businesses.
3 in Belfair, but one of the 3 in Belfair is the Eagles. Maybe they're not considered nonprofit on that. I don't know.
I am not collecting gambling tax from the Eagles. They are not reporting. So
1, 2.
nonprofits are exempt under our policies. So
That helps. That definitely helps. What do you commissioners have any opinion or anything on that?
yeah, I just listed on here what we have collected since 2019. The tax does go to the sheriff's current expense fund. Changing the rate would lower that revenue by approximately 40% or $35,000 annually.
Commissioners? As I said, one of the reasons why it was brought up is that they were doing it. There was 2 different options at the point, and it was costing so much to do it that it was taken away from them. That's why they had asked. But I didn't know it was such a huge change compared to Kitsap's until she did all this work. But I'm comfortable with that. That doesn't bother me. Do you have any comments or questions on it?
I would just say whether you choose to lower the rate or not, I would like to have the policy updated to add some of the other things that are in here and just make sure it's a more current and updated policy. Those are things that would help the treasurer's office in collecting the tax. We do spend an inordinate amount of time making sure these 6 businesses pay their taxes on time, and tracing down businesses that do and don't. So it would be a policy. It does require a public hearing to change policy in any or in the ordinance in any way, shape, or form. I'm not in a hurry. So it's just something for your consideration and something to talk about. So I'm not sure if you'd like to move this forward for further discussion at a meeting or whether or not you want to take more time to look at it, and I can try and answer any questions or concerns you might have.
Or set up for a hearing? Yeah, because you're saying it would require a hearing?
It does require a public hearing if you're going to move forward with an ordinance change.
Thank you.
Whether or not it has anything to do with changing the tax, if I change anything in the ordinance, we would need to have a hearing on that.
Yeah, so I think the reduction in revenue is, fairly minimal, big picture. I would be comfortable setting a hearing and getting public comment on this, and regardless, like Lisa said, regardless of where we end up on what that percentage is, to at least do the code cleanup to make it come back into just cleaner. So I think I'm good setting the hearing if we want to move forward like that and take public testimony.
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, I'm good with setting a hearing. It's also good to hear that nonprofits are exempt.
Yeah.
That probably was a big concern for quite a few of our nonprofits, or if any of them were even thinking about doing it. So, yeah, let's set a hearing and go for, like Commissioner Schutte said, at least a code cleanup and possibly a revision.
All right, perfect. I'll work with Mackenzie and get a hearing set for this. And we can move that one forward as well.
Excellent. Any other questions or anything for the treasurer?
I would just note one more thing, that property taxes, I have certified those for collection as of today. So the 2024 tax roll is out there and available for property owners or our constituents to start paying their property taxes. The tax statements won't go out for another couple weeks yet, but the information is available online and available here in the office. So it is up and running. We are a couple weeks early than we have been in the last several years. So I wanted to congratulate the assessor's office and their staff and my staff for having a great year. Doing
Thank
great
you,
work.
Lisa.
Good job.
All right, that's all I have for you today.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
So,
Thank
All
you.
right, next up, we have Public Defense Peter Jones.
Oh, I can't hear you,
I
Peter.
can't hear you, Peter. We can see you. We see your lips moving, and there's no red thing saying that you can't talk. Nope. Let's try this, Peter. Commissioners, we all know about this issue. Do we need him to even speak, or can we move this one forward?
I'd say let's go ahead and move it forward. I'm comfortable with moving it from 75 to 100.
Commissioner Schutte?
yeah, definitely comfortable moving it forward. I just want to, and I would ask Peter this, if he could maybe reply via email or in the chat or something along those lines. But is this equivalent to what the city of Shelton is now paying there? Okay,
There you go.
we don't want to do $101.
Yeah.
Just for some conversation in our next criminal justice working team and
So are you good moving forward, Commissioner?
I am. And then Peter, is this obviously this is only for misdemeanor attorneys, district court related. But are you also contemplating a change for felony? You can just shake
It
your
does
head.
no good to talk. If you can't head shake it,
Maybe. Okay, we'll put that down as a maybe. So
but that'll be at a future time. Right? Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Okay. All good on my end.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move it forward. Peter, damn, you're good. See that? Good job. Have a great day, Peter.
Thank you. Are you hearing me now?
Shoot. Yeah.
I finally got it to work. I'm sitting here playing with my tech.
No, all right. Well, again,
As to Commissioner Schutte's question, since I actually have a voice now, this does present a potential problem in Superior Court in that we are now paying the same for misdemeanors and felonies, and that may create issues with some of the felony guys. But until it actually creates those issues, I don't necessarily want to put anything before the horse, as
actually,
it were.
Peter, I'd like to ask that you go ahead and look at it and be prepared to bring something forward in the near future. Let's get ahead of this one.
Okay, I will do that.
That's just me, though.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't want to wait and, I mean, if we can presume that there's a potential issue there, I think we can maybe start working on it now and prevent it from becoming an issue.
Okay.
So if you're able to, I mean, come back to us when you can with a suggestion on updating that rate as well.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
I will do that then.
All right. Any questions for Peter? All right, Peter, have yourself a great day, and thank you. Nice to hear from you.
You as well.
Okay, next up, we have the coroner. Jaime, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you guys?
Incredible.
Good. I just want to thank everybody for coming to our open house. It was a success. We love our new office and we were glad to share it with everybody.
It's pretty amazing.
That
I
was
like
fantastic.
Yes, we are so blessed to be here. So we wanted to add a cooler to the Belfair area because we have a lot of calls up there in our office. From here to Belfair is about 40 minutes away. So having storage in the north end would be fantastic. And then our cooler that we have here, we found that only having 3 spots is not enough. We've been fairly busy. So we would like to add some racks to our facility here in Shelton so we can accommodate 11 decedents here. So for the cooler in the North Precinct, I think Kelly said that it's going to go where the new sheriff's office is going. We would like to add a cooler, some storage racks, and then we'd have to do a lift there as well.
Those storage, or I hate to call them storage racks.
I know.
Those racks were very impressive on how you do it and how that can keep
Yeah,
manpower
they've been great. Yeah.
That's a good investment.
Yes.
And Kelly, you're on to tell us that you have a location and you support this?
Well, I definitely support this. I do not have that location in stone yet, but we do have some areas in Belfair, off the sheriff's office in that garage area or in the back thing. I know we've met up with Fish and Game and with our own people, so we would just have to make space to do it. If that's what you tell us to do, that's what we're going to do. I could definitely, same as before. I mean, it's a little 20 by 15 area. I mean, and access to get into it, and probably back a van in and open the cooler and load and unload, do whatever we have to do there.
Is that something that can be put between the 2 buildings in that one back area there that eventually we wanted to fence in anyway?
Yes, but then the cooler would be outside in the open. I think it needs to be covered.
And we thought about covering that area at one point.
Yep. And once that is covered, I think that'd be a great location. One of the nice things about these coolers is they kind of pop right together and pop right apart. If we needed to move them, we can.
Oh.
It takes 30 amps, and I've got 30 amps in both locations, whether it's in the front or the back, to do that.
how would it be secured?
That's interesting being that easy to move. I didn't know that. Commissioner Trask, sorry.
Yeah, how would it be secured? So I know you can't just leave it open and
that we'd have to make it to a place where, I mean, it becomes evidence. Absolutely becomes, a lot of times becomes evidence. So we would have to secure that with a lock or a wall that nobody can get into that area with.
Yeah, it would have to be in a secured location. Our decedents are actually our evidence. So it would have to be something that would be secured.
right. I
definitely think we need the racks downtown first, and then
Most
definitely go
definitely.
from there. Once we get all that space allocated, and do we have that area that we can set aside for that?
So could we move ahead with the racks for the Shelton office? And then when you have more information about the location, could you come back to us with that?
I mean, that's my priority, is to add more storage here because this is our main office and we definitely are in need. The other would be nice, but we could put that on the back burner for a little bit.
Well, let me see if I understand what she's saying for myself. So, Commissioner, you're in favor of moving forward with purchasing, but want final kind of a final say from the commission on the location when that time comes, but still go forward with the purchasing of everything she has in her packet.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with moving ahead with the cost and the prices, but just maybe come back to us when the final location has been determined, and that way we can
Or
get our
options.
stamp of approval on it.
I agree.
But I'd like to see if I can get an approval on the added racks for our Shelton office
Well,
here.
I
All we
think-
would need is,
I think you're gonna get it all, Jaime. That's what it sounded
Okay,
like right now.
okay,
So,
great.
Commissioner Schutte, are you on that same page, or where are you at?
Yeah, buy it all, and then we'll figure out the location for Belfair when when we can. We'll just keep working on it.
There you go.
I feel that
Great,
we're
thank you so
within a
much.
month or two of having that location figured out, so.
Okay.
Once we get everybody else moved in, and then we'll know what space we have left.
Jamie, do you have anything else for us?
I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Hey, commissioners, do you have anything for Jamie?
No, no.
Just
Good
know you're
idea.
doing an awesome job, Jamie.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Appreciate
Glad you have a permanent spot right now.
I am too. We love it.
You know, what's so funny is our incredible past coroner was there, and I felt so bad as we moved that poor man everywhere, and now the facilities are getting nicer and nicer for the coroner. He was so incredible, but boy, did I ever feel guilty when I was looking in my eye.
Wes and I are good friends, and I
I
still
know
have
you
him
are.
in my back pocket, and we talk all
Yep.
the time.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly,
Thank you.
also.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next up, Undersheriff Adams from the Sheriff's Office. Are you on? Yes.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Hi, Undersheriff.
Good. So I just wanted to come on and give you a quick brief on the outsourcing. Our esteemed chief is working night shifts right now, so I'm jumping in and taking his place on this particular briefing to let you know where we're at. I think you've seen on the briefing document the last 3 months and the total number of inmate days, number of inmates, and what that has cost over the last 3 months. So we just wanted to jump on there and let you know kind of where that was at. It's been fluctuating a great deal. So they've been doing a great job over there of trying to make sure that they're moving folks in and out of the Nisqually to jail to try and keep our local jail at a somewhat level occupancy rate, if you will. However, we do have some interesting days. Last week, I believe we found ourselves down in the teens for the number of people that were in our facility and had more people over at Nisqually. It was just a weird situation where we had just moved some people out to manage the number of people in our facility, and then the courts released 13 people in one day. So we immediately went into the process of going back to Nisqually and getting folks back over here to make sure that we maintain that level and try to manage that cost for the county. So it's just a continual process of going through that and making sure that we're trying to keep the number of folks here somewhere between the 25 and 30 range and no more than around 15 or so over at Nisqually, depending on just the ins and outs of the courts and the arrests and everything else going on. So the second half of any questions on that before I move on?
Just a comment for the public. Thank you, because by doing it the way you're doing it, people may ask us about why the spending and why we're not just holding them right now. There's a safety issue, and our undersheriff and the chiefs there are making sure that the staff that work for us are in a position where they are in the safest position possible while we have a staffing shortage. And by doing this, we make sure everybody goes home safe, and this is absolutely necessary. And so, Undersheriff, I appreciate you doing it. And in my opinion, we do it until those people get out of training. We have enough staff to do it and make sure everybody's back's covered. I'm comfortable as heck with it.
Perfect. And that I appreciate the comments, Commissioner, because that's kind of the second half of the discussion was to let you know when we originally had talked about outsourcing, we were hopeful that we were going to have some more folks hired and staffing up. And we were shooting for February, even though that was kind of a high bar. Fortunately, we have hired several corrections deputies over there. It's either 4 or 5. I can't remember off the top of my head. But as we've told you and as we've discussed, out of our control completely is the requirement to send them off to CJTC to get their basic certification. And right now we're looking at sometime mid 2025 before we can even get a slot in a academy over there. So they're going through a much more robust in-house training program than we might normally do because we're trying to offset the training that they're not getting at CJTC so that we can get them up and running. But it's going to take more time than February, unfortunately. So we wanted to ensure that the commission is comfortable with continuing on with the outsourcing and sending them over to Nisqually, managing it as we've been managing it before. and then extending that discussion to talking to the board about the recognition that spring is coming up. It starts to get busier for us, and if we run into situations where we may need to go a little higher on the outsourcing, depending on criminal activity and arrests that we need to make, that the board is comfortable giving us some latitude there, so long as we continue to come back and brief regularly and move in that direction.
So, Undersheriff, I myself, even though I had some of the greatest issues with some of this when we were first doing it because of past history, but I have not seen any of the past history continuing on to what we're doing today. I feel like we're completely in the loop with everything you're doing. I feel like you're constantly watching the dollars to make sure that we're not just doing it for any other purpose except for when it's necessary and needed. So I personally am comfortable with you do what you need to do there. I would love to get an update eventually from perhaps you or the sheriff or Chief Dracobly. There was some things that came up in our discussions in the past where Drac had a few ideas that may be able to help us to get some of the training done. The sheriff had even talked about, because we have trainers and people that are certified within our departments, of trying to do that here. Even if it costs some extra money, I'd love for us to have that discussion and see what that looks like to get it in place and just start doing it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have checked with CJTC and confirmed that they are the only body that can certify people through their training, and they only intend to hold that training at CJTC. So they don't intend to allow outside agencies to stand up that training and get that certification at this time. So while I agree with you, there are probably some options that we probably could have put into play with our Region 3 partners. It doesn't look like that's going to work out at this point.
I'll keep looking. I'm open to whatever you guys come up with. We got to be outside the box in a situation like this. But at least you've got the people, you're getting people hired. That's more than others could claim. You're doing well.
Yep, we certainly are, and I know that they've got a couple other that are in background right now to add to the fleet, hopefully.
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating that our hands are tied at options that we do have but don't have, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
It's truly unfortunate. I know that there are some things going through the legislature now, but my hopes are not high on any of that, especially with it being a short session and an election year. So they got to work on their messaging at the same time. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Make sure that they all know that we do appreciate them.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I appreciate the updates on this, Undersheriff, and I think my opinion of this is to look at it like a dial. And so I think giving you all some operational flexibility is important. As you mentioned, especially heading into the warmer months when there tends to be an uptick in business. So I think, just continuing to have the conversation. We don't need to have any operational discussions, about how you intend to utilize the flexibility and those kinds of things. I'll defer to you all on that and let you use your own judgment internally. But, just I think having these discussions gives me a high level of confidence that you're making good decisions and that you're utilizing the funds to help make the community safer and to keep our corrections officers in our facility safer as well. And so, I think just having that ability to be flexible on it and make those decisions out in the field is kind of where I want to land on this.
Sounds like you have support all the way around, Undersheriff.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all the kind words, and I will definitely pass along the things you said about our good folks working over there at the corrections, and we will continue to update you as things move along and as we move into spring and make sure that the dialogue stays there.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anything for the Undersheriff before he gets off the line? There are none? All right. Have a great day, Undersheriff.
Yep. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, I don't see Kell on here. Is there somebody, next up is community development. Is there somebody representing community development on the line?
Yes, it's Marissa here.
Hi, Marissa.
Today it's myself and Scott Rudy. So
Okay, welcome. What do you got for us?
So quick one. I have two final drafts for contracts with the Department of Commerce. So we finished our contract with SCJ Alliance, but we now need the contract with the Department of Commerce for reimbursing them. So we have the final draft for the periodic update grant. That's one, and that's for $350,000. And we're asking for approval for the chair to sign, and we're hoping to get that on the January 30th agenda for the chair to sign that through DocuSign. Then we have the climate grant, which is the additional one, and that is,
Let's go ahead and hit this one first. Are there any questions for this one, commissioners?
sorry.
Well, that's okay. You're doing great, Marissa. Any questions? Are you okay with moving this one forward?
I am.
I am as well.
Okay, next.
Sorry. And then the climate grant, that one, I don't believe the final draft has been sent out for signing through DocuSign yet. I was still hoping to get approval to put it on the January 30th agenda, just in case it shows up here in the next few days. And if it doesn't show up, then I'll have them pull it if it gets approved to put on there. But that final contract should be ready here any minute as well.
I have no problem with that, but I want to make sure that you give, there's certain individuals that have expressed, that have taken issue with this a little bit. And I would like to make sure they have the opportunity to see it in plenty of time before we make a decision on it.
Yep. And the contract that was provided with the briefing is I'm pretty sure that's the final one. All I had to do was change the chair's name, so that I think they were just trying to get financial approval for that one still. So the contract that was displayed up for briefing should be the final one, but I'll make sure that is.
So I'm okay with it going on the agenda with that being the case and making sure that because even if it is, that it gets out there enough time for the people to see it. Commissioner Schutte, what do you think?
Okay.
Yep, me too.
There you go.
Okay, I'll give it over to Scott then.
Yeah, before you put it over to Scott, anything from Marissa?
Not for me.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Scott Rudy with Mason County Planning Department. We are requesting an ordinance be placed on the January 30th agenda. Recently, a planned unit development was approved by the hearing examiner. And one of the things of the PUD was there was an increase in density. So therefore it requires final approval by the board. So we're requesting approval of the ordinance on that agenda for the increased density for the PUD.
Okay. Kell came in and talked to me. I assume she came to everybody and talked to them as well. No? Oh, because you're always in the office, Commissioner Trask. I just assumed you would have been there when she came in. If I was here and you were here, yeah, she explained that literally it is everything that we had already done. I was against that provision, but I wasn't against the provision when it came for vote. I just wanted an addition to where it wasn't required to hook up to sewer. So I have no issue with this myself personally, and I'm in favor of moving forward with this. She came in to say that we have to move forward with it as a commission because it is a requirement that although we did all these other steps and the hearings examiner said so, it can only be enacted through an actual action from the board. So that's what that came down to.
All right, and it's just going from 14 to 25, right, per acre.
That is correct.
All right, so there's nothing in here saying that they have to connect to a sewer.
No. Oh, that's in the other whole provision that we can't, the annexation, they have to, if they go through sewer, they have to be annexed and stuff. But like I said, that battle was already battled. I lost that one and we move on. We already approved the provision, so I'm not standing this way.
Okay, yeah, I did look through it earlier, and it looks good to me. I was happy to see that the developer was going to work with neighbors as far as, you know, when they're taking down the trees and or leaving trees up or working. I think it was one neighbor wanted to, as they took down trees, she wanted to make sure that she could also use that service or do it at the same time. So that was cool.
Yes, those two neighbors have been working together throughout the entire project.
Boy, it's everybody's having issues with the audio. Kevin, where are you at on this?
Yeah, I'm comfortable moving it forward.
There you go. You got it, Scott.
Thank you so much.
Do you have anything else for us?
That's all today. Thank you.
Does anybody have anything for Scott?
No.
All right. Have a great day, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else on community development has anything they would like to talk to us about before we move forward? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to Dave Windom in public health.
And good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Hey, the audio works. All right. So the first thing I have is a grant request from YMCA called Actively Changing Together. The Shelton YMCA is requesting $20,000 for this program. It's Actively Changing Together is a program the YMCA uses to teach healthy eating, active living, and works in conjunction with memberships to the YMCA, instruction, training, and training instructors. This really falls very neatly within our course, life course work for Foundation Public Health Services. The cost is $20,006, and just requesting to move this forward.
I'm sure the other commissioners got the same calls I did. We need to make clear this is changing together is in regards to obesity, health,
Right.
and life. This is not personal life choices or anything else in any other manner. Please, people, don't confuse because you see a title with the body of the work that's been done here. This is a very good thing that's coming up. It's great that the YMCA is taking a lead on that, and it is something that is beneficial to everybody on the health of our bodies. And I'll be the first one to tell you for weight and everything else. And I appreciate it, and I'm supportive of moving it forward.
Yeah, I support it too, and I would encourage folks to take a look at what is in our packet. If you have questions, it answers every one of those questions. Please know that this is for obesity.
Headline reading. It's the new way of doing news these days. They read a headline and that's the news. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, 100% supportive of this. It's a great evidence-based program and brings in new partners to the community to work with our public health and the Y and Mason Health, and just being able to have Seattle Children's provide services here in the community is a huge win, and just excited to see this move forward.
Commissioner, are you still actively involved on the YMCA board and stuff?
I am. Yep.
And I want to give you a thank you.
Yeah, they're excited for this too, and they've run a version of this in Thurston County in the past, and super successful, and just part of expanding what they offer here in Mason County. So it's a great opportunity.
Sounds like you got to go ahead on that one, Dave. What else you got?
Okay, I want to hand it over to Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. First item is we have had a vacancy in a citizen position on the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board. And we finally received an application from Heather Kennedy. So as a reminder, this advisory board provides recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners on how to spend the homeless funds, behavioral health treatment. I think she has quite a bit of experience in DSHS. So the ask here would be to schedule an interview with Heather in consideration of appointing her to the board.
I'm supportive.
Yep.
There you go.
Great, thank you. Next item is, let me here. The Department of Commerce is reallocating unspent state fiscal year 23 funds in our eviction prevention programs. So Crossroads Housing and the Youth Connections are two providers who provide that program, working with clients and with landlords and with the court systems to prevent people from becoming homeless by paying back anybody who's behind on rent, and preventing eviction. There's $47,344.20 that will be reallocated to the county in the current contract, which ends in June of 24. 15,623 would be passed through to Shelton Family Center Youth Connections Eviction Prevention Program, and 31,720 to Crossroads Housing. So we would just like this to move forward on the next action agenda for approval.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say shake to say, and I would agree. Melissa, I just asked though, in the past, we've talked about this, looking for new pockets also. Eventually, if this keeps rolling over and gets larger, we ought to consider other pockets and other ways of getting it out there. We have a community out in the Hoodsport areas. I'm sure Commissioner Schutte will explain to you. We have out areas more up in North Mesa, the very north, that may have some of the same issues, and being able to have other pockets to look at would be a wonderful idea.
So do we have approval on this item?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a quick update. I know that this is something that the board actually requested sometime last year on doing a little bit more of a presentation on what the housing funds look like, what the programs actually do, what the eligibility is. I'm hoping to brief it on the next briefing, doing a little bit of a dashboard that kind of updates what the funding sources are, where they're allocated, who's eligible, what the RFP process was, not just for our housing funds, but also to do that for treatment sales tax. I think that's something that, with public funds like that, it's fair to the community for them to know where the money's going and how it's being spent. And we're also emphasizing this year as part of our work plan and our strategic plan to really look at contracts and what the purpose of the funding is. Are we accomplishing what we're supposed to do with those funds, so that we can look at doing things more efficiently in the next budget cycle. So more to come on that hopefully next week.
Excellent, Melissa.
That's all I've got.
Does anybody have any questions or anything for Melissa? I do. Go ahead. Okay, I have something for both of you. I'd like you to consider. For years we tried to get things out in North Mesa when it came to warming centers and stuff like that. Sometimes there's been some success, but you always hear how impossible it is to go through the process to get the monies to help and do it. I would love to see us actually put together a program where they can go ahead and apply to get a few dollars to get some help, because there was just an organization during this cold snap, which was really horrible. They found a way and they just went and did it, and they made it all happen, and they were extremely successful. They had a lot of people that showed up and provided for them and stuff. It'd sure be nice if we had the ability for them to just have a sheet they could reach out to ask to see if they could be a warming center. Instead of us having to go through this whole big process, then beg for it. If we actually had something they could just apply for, it sure make things a lot easier. I want to thank them though, because nobody else did, but they stood up there and they did it. They got it done right away, right in the middle of town.
Commissioner, did you say how many people they had in the?
I did not get the total
Okay.
amounts. I drove by and the place was absolutely packed.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many were volunteers, how many were not. That's what we'd have to find out. I didn't want to go in there because I didn't want to make any promises or tell them I could do anything I can't do. I just wanted to see if I could set up the process. I did find out if they needed anything, and I had somebody bring some stuff that was needed, and but that's as a citizen.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't have another cold snap like that again. That was a tough one. I only get those about once every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else, Dave, for us?
Nope, that's it. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon at the Board of Health.
I have a question
Dave.
for you.
Oh, sorry, Sharon.
I just have one question for Dave. Did you schedule your appointment?
No,
Oh.
Do it.
and I'll give you the backstory on it later.
Well, I hear a shame on you, Dave. Kevin, what did you have?
Yeah, Dave, I was just going to mention, looking ahead to tomorrow's Board of Health meeting, there's nothing on there for selection of chair and vice chair for the coming year.
No, it will have to do that. Yes.
Okay, so we can just amend the agenda tomorrow. I just
Right.
selfishly happy to happy to make some nominations tomorrow.
Yeah, I was out sick all last week, so that did not get added to the agenda, so.
I'll say, I think we've all been the chair, so is there anybody else we can tap? We'll
So-
figure it out tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah, because we'll have to look at who the city of Shelton is sending over and to replace Kathy McDowell on the board. And so there's a couple of those things we'll need to discuss tomorrow.
excellent. All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and move into Public Works. Loretta. I'm not seeing Loretta. Do we have anybody from Public Works on right? Wait, there she was.
You just came on.
Yeah.
And then there's Mike. Okay, there we go. Hi, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if Richard's on board here. But I believe our first item is the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and we have 2 applications. There's Richard. Good morning, Richard.
All right. So there you go. We have 2 applications. Gosh, I'm trying to find it. Jens Dieter Stammer and Karen Rice, both from District 3. So what we are going to ask for is that the board consider interviewing both of these people and select one of them to fill the vacant position for District 3 on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Sounds good to me. We'll get a hold of Diane and Mackenzie and have them put that together for us. The Commissioner, do you agree?
Do.
Okay. What else you got?
All right. And next up, we have some interlocal agreements. Kelly's been working on cleaning up old agreements, updating agreements, and making sure we're starting the year off right. And so Mike's got a couple of fire district agreements to present.
Yeah, good morning. Public Works has been working on interlocal agreements with the fire districts. These updates will include language acknowledging the annual cost adjustments for fuel and services and update some liability terms and clauses. And actually, we're adding in a snowplow pilot program, and we have had 3 volunteers, so we're working on that too.
Okay, any questions or
Not for me.
Not for me.
what else you got?
That's what we've got.
All right. I've sent you some stuff. You guys look like you're already on it. I'll get a hold of you later if I have any questions on the things I've asked of you here recently. I know I sent you over some stuff. And Richard, thank you very much. Is he still on? Thank you very much for reaching out to the citizen and talking with them and the interaction that you provided. It's appreciated. All right. Anything for them, commissioners? All right, then that brings us to the next point, which was our Mason Transit Authority. Is Ryan on here? He's not on here. So let's go ahead and take a break. He's not scheduled to be here until 11:10. So we will come back on at 11:10 unless you have anything else you want to do right now, Commissioner.
Do you want to start with support services and maybe at least go through the financials? And
we can.
Up to you guys. I mean,
who's representing support services right now? Hi, Jennifer. We're just going to go straight to you. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm first on the list, so I'll go ahead and do the financials. So I will share my screen here. All right, so we have the December financials. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
All right, so starting out with revenue for current expense, we have received through December of 2023, $45,869,673, and we're at 107% of our budgeted total revenue for the year.
So this is our closeout though for the year, right? This is all the way through, not to December, but through December.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Through December 31st cash basis.
Okay.
So compared to last year, $45,729,023, last year being 2022. Sorry. And that was at 110% of our budgeted revenue for collections. Any questions, just feel free to stop me. The treasurer's revenue detail we have received through December of 2023 for the whole year, $31,424,423. And that was 111% of our total budgeted revenue. Compared to the previous year, 2022, we received $32,579,611. That was at 121% of our total budgeted revenue. Moving on to expenditures.
Is there something that we should see on that? Because we had already done the cut the diversion down and stuff also. So I'm trying to, I saw looking ahead, I've been running the same question. So is there something we see that we should be paying attention to?
No, I mean, I think a big chunk of that was, of course, the levy shift. We didn't do it in 23, but we did in 22. So that was a huge.
So that is the levy shift time. That it is what that was.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought we started a year earlier. I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing there.
Version 2022. Yeah, no, we had already cut it down by then. Road diversion property tax had dropped by the $1 million for the 21 year.
Yeah, I think the levy shift though was in 22. Because you can see that the budgeted property tax in 2022 was $11,332,000 compared to 2023 it was $10,390,000 or $389,000.
Okay.
For the expenditures in current expense, we expended $45,038 compared to the previous year, $40,767,814. We're at 92% of our budgeted expenditures this year compared to 90% last year. We expended $4,068,189 more in 2023 than in 2022. For the special fund, the specific revenue stream comparison, so community development revenues were up $2,714,000 roughly. That is about at 2021 levels. So that looks pretty good for community development. We had in sales and use tax, $1,147,000, up a little bit compared to previous years. Filings were down, so in the Fund 117, that revenue is down a little bit, $539,806. Lodging tax is up $1,066,219 compared to previous years. And then REIT was down a little bit, $1,496,700. So
what's that? What is that percentage?
The percentage that it's down?
Yeah, the percentage decrease.
I don't have that. I can get that for you. For sales tax, we collected in 2023 $9,528,289. We had budgeted $8,400,000, and so we collected almost 1.3 million more than what we had budgeted. Or I'm sorry, 1.128 million more than what we had budgeted. I had thought that our revenue would be around 9.6 million, but December collections were down quite a bit compared to the previous year. So we collected 770,000, which was about 77,000 less than the previous year. So hopefully it picks up a little bit. Hopefully it's not a sign of.
But that is something for us to notice, because that does seem like 3 months in a row, that seems like an actual change in direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say if people are just traveling more out of the county and shopping and eating, more outside of the county. I mean, I know a lot of people are still, purchasing online, whether they're purchasing less. I don't know. I can try and do some research on that and see what I can find out.
Oh, I see a face popped on.
I was just going to note that you need to remember that is a 2-month lag. So your December is your October collections. And so you're not seeing the holidays in here yet.
Right. I mean, that is a good reminder. But yeah, I think that the concern is the change from the previous year's collection.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we had one third of our months where it had gone below the year before. That's quite a hit. And just for the commissioner's knowledge, we sustained a 20% hit on the REIT.
Okay, so moving on to the 6-year, the financial recap. We ended the year with $27,525,669 in cash. And if you remember, we budgeted for 2024's beginning fund balance at 28 million. So this is the first year that I have made a projection that actually came in lower for our current expense cash. The main reason for the difference was the payout to the Sheriff's Guild that wasn't accounted for in the beginning fund balance. But again,
Gotcha.
something to watch and be a little concerned about our cashes.
Well, and you had discussed that with us during the process. I, for one, was aware it was coming. You told us that it was. So I don't think it was something that was not. We spent it. That's just that simple.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was thought about, talked about, but to see the difference, budget versus actual, is what it is. So again, our financial recap, we have received 107% of our budgeted revenues in 2023 and expended 92% of our total expenditures. And I am happy to report that none of the departments or funds went over budget in salaries and benefits or in operating. So that's always great to report. For our cash balances in the special funds, we are at $58,037,470 at the end of the year.
That sure is a big difference over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, in the road fund, not having that levy shift and lowering that diversion, that helps their cash balance out, or has helped their cash balance out the last few years. And, their lack of engineers, they're not expending those salaries like they have budgeted. So that's probably it.
And we still have almost 5 million from the ARPA.
Yeah, I mean, we've got close to 5 million we received close to 13 million originally. So that's.
Take me down to the balance at the bottom again.
Yeah.
Right there. So 53. So not much different than the year before, except for that was in there the year before. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So moving on to the motor pool summary, we budgeted a total of $1,776,521 and expended $1,488,659. We expended 83.8% of our total budget. We had quite a big savings in the capital upfit area since we had budgeted for cars to maybe come in at the end of the year, and not all of them did, so we have a little bit of savings there. But overall, we're looking right where we should be in motor pool. Moving on to the special funds revenue, we received $58,316,641 compared to last year, 2022, $63,480,921. We received 91% of our total budgeted revenue in 23 compared to 76% in 22. And the special fund expenditures, we expended $53,742,108 compared to 2022, $51,538,836. We expended 67% this last year in 23 compared to 57% in 2022. So any questions or things you want me to follow up on?
And that's going to be the ARPA fund expenditures as well, right?
I think that's part of it. And then I think in 22 we had expended, or not expended, we had budgeted for the Belfair sewer, and then also for the Skoke. We budgeted 10 million in the Skoke, where we had only expended $4,338, excuse me. So we expended hardly anything, and then, you know, same thing on the revenue side that corresponds. We didn't receive any revenue for Skoke, but budgeted 10 million. And then in the Belfair sewer, we budgeted for a lot more revenue and expense than what we actually received and expended. So I think that's the major differences, are those two funds. And of course, the American Rescue Plan Act, I mean, that definitely adds to the revenue and expense.
Yeah.
So any other questions or comments?
Nope. Commissioners?
Not for me. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Great job.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mary.
Morning.
Think you're up.
So this morning I wanted to talk about our comparable counties that we use for compensation, bargaining, et cetera, et cetera. Our previous comp counties, we had used Clallam, Cowlitz, Grace Harbor Island, Jefferson, Lewis, and Skagit County. These 7 counties haven't been evaluated in at least over a decade from what I can find. And as we know, you know, resident populations grow, tax bases change, a lot of these things. So I kind of think of it as the non-rep class and comp study. We had a lot of catching up to do as a county when it comes to this type of topic. So we sent out, we asked our consultant, hey, if you were to come at us with, you know, no history, what would you select as recommended comp counties for us? And basically the process for selecting kind of a sample of comparison agencies is going to be around similar services. And then, you know, what's the labor market that we're competing in? So resident population, county budget, similar services, assessed valuation. And so a lot of times compensation studies are grounded in wages, hours, conditions of employment of like personnel and like employers of similar size. And so they started with resident population and then narrowed even further by total county budget and then number of FTEs. And then went into the assessed valuation to kind of narrow down the list even more to make sure we had a manageable number and weren't looking at, you know, too many numbers. We also wanted to give consideration to the objective measures of size. So like population budget, like I said, kind of casting that net more broadly yields more data that can then guide us in our strategies because we, you know, aim for fair outcomes, fiscal responsibility, And then to help normalize compensation comparisons, there's a tool through the Federal Bureau of Economic Analysis that helps us adjust for cost of living differences between counties if and when necessary. So an argument that I hear frequently is, well, on the east side of the state, the cost of living is so much cheaper than it is on the west side of the state. That's where this tool would come in to help us normalize those numbers so that that's not a problem, and we're not, it's not a disadvantage to the employees because we are normalizing that math and that data. So what I'd like to put forward are 2 changes to our current comp counties. So we would be swapping out Cowlitz and Skagit and putting in Kittitas and Walla Walla, which would then obviously be adjusted for the cost of living using the Federal Bureau of Economics Analysis. And so I have attached to my packet a resolution, and I feel like this has been needed for a long time. A couple of these counties are twice our size. We just can't compete when it comes to the tax base, the assessed valuation. And so it was time for us to look at this as a county. Like I said, it's been over a decade based on records that I can find.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been considering on this is getting this information out a little bit so we can have some further discussions regarding it before we move forward with it. But I know one of the things that I definitely always have to notice is you got Skagit, which is literally twice our population, and it's hard to compare it with stuff like that. Then you have Cowlitz, which is almost twice our population. So it's worth having the look in the discussions. And I know that this is the direction we're looking at it. Be curious to see what input we get from the outside. Commissioners?
Yeah, no, I'm like I've said previously, I'm really glad to see that Mason County is moving ahead and making changes. Sometimes change is hard, but I appreciate the work that you and our consultants have put into this. I know talking with other counties, they're all doing the same thing. They're all reevaluating where they are, who their comparables are as well. So I'm curious to see what type of comments we'll get back from other folks. What I would encourage people to do is let us know what your comments are. Let us know what your concerns are. If you have any, let's hear them, because I'd like to make sure that I think most people will agree with me. The things that we're doing are a benefit for Mason County, and so the decisions that we're making are for the best for Mason County. But if you have concerns, please put them down, send them to us, put them in writing so that we can see them and evaluate them.
Yeah, I agree with both Commissioners Netherland and Trask. I mean, first off, Mary, appreciate the effort that Captain Dow and his team and you and your team put into doing this evaluation. I think it's really important to, be able to take a look at where we are and make sure that we're using the right data set in order to make decisions. I know that's very helpful for us when we're negotiating our collective bargaining agreements, as well as when we're looking at, what the, what we need to for our non-rep employees as well. So just right off the top, thank you for all of that. If there are specific concerns about this, other than we just don't like change, definitely open to those conversations. But to be clear, I think this is the direction that we should be moving in, for the reasons that have already been stated, and taking a look at counties that are more similar to us. And I think the inclusion of Kittitas County in particular, very similar to us in that they're a neighbor county to King County, which is obviously the largest county in our state and has the most resources and all that kind of stuff. And so, we need to be comparing similar counties for these purposes, and always looking at the factors in the economy, big picture, and taking those into account. But for the purposes of what this RCW asks us to do, I think it's important to have counties that are similar to us in size, assessed value, budget scope, all that kind of stuff, in order to make sound decisions that first and foremost treat our rep employees fairly, and that we have fair and open negotiations on that side, but also just recognize the financial impacts that these collective bargaining agreements have on our county and frankly counties across the state, and being able to be mindful of the balance that we need to strike in a collective bargaining process, so that we're minding the shop as well as the shopkeepers.
Well said, Commissioner. So again, I want to remind everybody, it's not just an attempt to get something special done. We're doing things different than we've ever done before. We've been going out, we've been finding comparables on the jobs that we're comparing the people to. And that's why we had so many of the spot adjustments that we've had in the past. In order to do that, you sometimes have to be looking at counties that have the same jobs and stuff as we have as well, in order to make the best and educated decision and make sure they're compensated fairly. It's one thing, apples and oranges, but it's another to compare apples with pumpkins or apples with grapes. And we're just doing the best we can to do the right thing here. So other than that, I hear that the commission is send this out there. Just please take a look at it if you have some comments. But as was said, make your comments based on real information, not emotional attachment, or just don't like things to be different than the way they are now. We're actually trying to do the very best that we can to make sure everybody is compensated and taken care of fairly. And that's the reason for looking at this. So with that being said, Mary, do you have any questions of us on what we're asking of you?
Nope.
Any other questions for Mary on this issue? Comments?
Yeah, just Mary, just for your own sake, in terms of receiving feedback on this, when would you like to have that by, so that you're able to get it back in front of us to make a decision?
I mean, as soon as possible. If it's not going to move forward to action on the 30th, then I'd like to have something to at least report back on the 29th.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that sounds fair. So on the 29th, you'll be briefing us to put it on the agenda or to not put it on the agenda at that time. Is that what I'm hearing from the commission as well?
Yeah, so so Mary, would you be wanting feedback by close of business Friday, or?
How about, well, I have to have it into McKinsey by Wednesday at noon. I don't know. I want to make sure there's time, but also not make McKinsey's life harder than necessary.
Well, then let's just brief this in 2 weeks. Is everybody comfortable with briefing in 2 weeks?
Sure.
So basically, folks out there in the world, you only got a week to get your information in. If they find that there's something we have to look deeper in, we can always do something at that point, but get it in within a week. Commissioner Trask, were you saying something, or I just?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that this works with the schedules that we have coming up.
Yeah.
Mary, does that
Yeah, if I can have comment by close of business on Friday, then I can be ready for the following week to get my stuff in by Wednesday at noon.
Okay.
Which would put a brief in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What else you got, Mary?
The second thing I had was update to the non-rep salary scale. We needed to add the grant writer position that was approved in the budget. And then we had temporary therapeutic court caseworkers that weren't listed. They're at the same level, but they were off for some reason. And they're just the same as the temp financial analyst, so they need to be put on there. And then we needed to make sure that it reflected what is showing in Munis. So attached, I have the resolution and the updated scales showing the new position. Looking to move that forward to action next Tuesday.
Looks good to me.
Good with me.
Okay. And the third item I had was the results of the 22 to 23 employee engagement survey. Do you want me to screen share, or did everybody have a chance to look at it already?
I looked at it.
Okay, So the kind of just the things that I wanted to highlight, we had a bit less response this year, but we did have an overall satisfaction increase of 10% in 23 from 73% in 22. So I thought that was a good thing.
Well, that's why you're gonna have less response too. People are angry, you get more response. If they're going to the positive, you get less. That's just the way life is. It's not as urgent for them to go to war, so.
So again, just attached are the kind of the bar graphs showing the differences between the 2 years. I think that in a couple, I mean, we had less responses, but I do think in a few areas we showed some growth. And then, yeah, that was kind of my big takeaway though, was the increase in overall satisfaction. That was good. Any questions about the survey?
Yeah, Mary, will you kick these results back out to the entire workforce so that they have access to it too? Great.
It goes on the intranet site, but I will send it out like in a email to all the department heads and electeds, and then they can disseminate as they see fit. But all of our stuff is put on the intranet site for any employee to access.
Great.
So the next item was, we had been asked to collect some Board of Equalization compensation data to see where we're at with the compensation for those board members. We had, let's see, there's not been an increase since 2005. However, based on what I'm seeing here, I don't see that there's a super big disparity or that we're really out of whack. So I just was gonna, here's the data and wait for commissioner direction on how or if you'd like to proceed with any changes for those board member stipends.
Yeah, you know, for me, I think taking a look at it, I mean, we're right there with everybody except for Skagit, and Plowham Plowham was super low relative to everybody else. So I'm at this point, it's something to monitor going forward, but I'm not necessarily interested in making a change.
Mr. Trask?
Yeah, after seeing our comparables, and honestly, I don't think that Skagit is a comparable, and neither is Thurston. It looks like we're right on track, so I'm comfortable with it. But thank you so much for doing this, because I know it was a concern for the members there.
And it was collected a while ago. Just we're kind of hadn't gotten on the agenda yet. So, but I'm as long as everyone's comfortable, I'm comfortable with it as well.
We're comfortable.
Okay. And then I think Winter's on somewhere with me for our NeoGov update. Winter, are you there? There she is. Hello. Winter's kind of become our resident expert on NeoGov. So NeoGov was our new program that we launched May 1 of 23 to kind of streamline our hiring practices, moving away from that good old paper system. It's actually helped us increase engagement with our hiring managers and then also with the candidate as well. And I think we've talked about this in previous briefings about how that candidate interaction, that personal touch is one of the biggest tools we have at our disposal right now. I think corrections has been a really good example of that. So we have some data, and I promised to come back to the commissioners and show data as a part of this purchase of this program. So what I have here is May 1 from launch to January 16th, which is the most recent that we have. There's two different types of job postings we use in Mason County. One is continuous and the other is non-continuous. Continuous postings are for those hard to fill, the ones that turn over all the time, so it doesn't make sense to like put them up, take them down, put them up, take them down. The non-continuous postings are kind of designed to almost like create a sense of urgency and get people to apply faster. So it just depends on the job, what type of posting that the HR analyst decides to do. Attached, we have some definitions. So you can see, I'm not going to read them to you. But basically what we're looking at is the time to fill data, and time to fill is basically from the time that we get a request to post a job, not the time it's actually posted, the time we get a request to post a job called a requisition from the hiring department to the candidate actually accepting the job offer. So really the whole hiring process is the time to fill. Currently, SHRM is saying that average time to fill is about 36 days. And then candidates, if they're not getting a response from the hiring manager or the county or any interaction within 10 days, they're out of the pipeline. We've lost them. So it's really important that the hiring managers get moving really quickly. They get engaging really quickly, interviews scheduled really quickly. All those are really important. So these are our trends for non-continuous. It's 41 days to fill, and then continuous, it's about 30 days to fill. Let's see. So on the first graph page, this is our continuous posting time to fill by class spec. So we'll just take truck driver in the Public Works Department, and it has the number of hires. And then here it kind of shows you where it's lagging or where it's sitting. So the total average of days on the eligible list, and this is where HR is building the list. And then kind of waiting for kind of that review date. And then they get sent over to a referred list, which is sent to the hiring manager for review and then to set up interviews. So we've created a list, they meet mid-quals, and then we kick them over to the hiring manager to move on to the next step and get those interviews scheduled or look at the resumes or however they're deciding to move forward as the hiring manager. And then the next blue section is the total average of days for once the approval of the offer is done and then reference checks are done. So on the truck driver one, you know, you can see the average time in days to fill a position is 71 days. So way longer than we'd like it to be. And then if you kind of look at our average overall, we're at 30.32 days to fill for our continuous postings. On the next slide or chart is the non-continuous posting. So here you can kind of see that I'll do the first row, the support services on-call customer service specialist, one hire. The requisition went through in less than a day, so that was great, didn't sit at all. And then the total average days of the job posting being up. And that was, you know, if it's continuous, it's on all the time. And as applicants put their information in, they'll schedule interviews, they'll kind of move them as they go. And it's not necessarily a wait till a close date to interview, do it as they come in. Let's get moving on them quickly. And then they also had 0 average days that it sat on the eligibility list. So that means HR was moving quick. And then total average of days the app's on the referred list. So the hiring manager is looking at it, scheduling those interviews, and then 6 days for the offer and approval reference check process. So average of 73 days for a continuous posting. So that's kind of what the data is right now. We did it by class spec, but you can kind of see by department. We can splice the data differently if the commissioners would like to see it differently the next time. But I think it was pretty telling for trends on where we need to improve our processes. I think getting interviews, hiring managers to schedule interviews quickly, not losing the candidate, all those things are really, really important.
Mary, one of the things I'd like to see is, I'm sure other counties are doing this, NeoGov. What does that look like compared to other counties? So we have a benchmark to work upon. So maybe for the future, you can get us that and see what we're working towards.
Okay, we can definitely ask them. Winter, did you have anything to add? I'm sorry.
Does anybody have any questions for staff regarding this?
No, I think it sounds like it's a well-run machine, a good process, and I don't have any questions. I think it's great.
Excellent. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, no, I agree. This is really helpful to see, and Winter, appreciate you diving in on NeoGov and being our in-house expert on it, and Mary for bringing this to us. So this looks good. Some room for improvement, obviously, but that's why we have data, right? That's why we measure it so that we can improve it.
Yeah. Great job, Winter. All right. What else we got?
That's all we've got. Thank you.
Hey, John, are you on? Oh, there's the sheriff. Is John on?
John is not on. He's at training, and I was going to let you know. Yes, the sheriff is in the chambers.
Okay.
So you want to switch over to take his interview?
Yeah, let's just do this one with John real quick and we're done. Do you want to handle it?
I'm sure. And it's just an informational. We're not asking for any action. It's our annual emergency management performance grant. We received it at the end of 23 and Mark signed it and we sent it off. And it was just an informational to let you know that we continue to get that grant.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for staff on that?
No, great.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead unless there's anybody has any issue. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move over to the interviews. Are you good with that? Sheriff, can you hear us? Nope, he's still working on that.
Yes, I can.
Okay, you can hear us. Okay, so welcome, Sheriff. We're going to go ahead and move into our Mason Transit Authority board interview. We have 7 different things for you here, 7 different questions. I want to make a point. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. We just appreciate you coming out and speaking with us. Brevity is a beautiful thing, but if you feel you need to expand on something, feel free. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take the first question. Commissioner Schutte, if you could take the second, and Commissioner Trask, you'll take the third, and we'll go in series. Number one is Sheriff, what do you see as a function of the Mason Transit Authority Board?
Any board like that is obviously going to be responsible for the fiduciary responsibilities or decisions made by that organization to oversee, to hold accountable, to make sure there's eyes on in all the different areas.
Excellent. Sheriff, why is it that you want to serve on the Mason Transit Board?
You know, it's an interesting question because you very well know you guys are all involved in so many different boards. I'm not looking for another board to be involved with. That's for sure. It's when I was asked if I would consider putting in for it, the reason I chose to go ahead and move forward with it is because I don't know a lot about MTA. I hear a lot of complaints about MTA, and I've been one of those complainers, unfortunately. And when you don't know about an organization, you don't know exactly what it is that they do, you can't be a spokesman for it or against it. You really shouldn't be. And a couple years ago, we had a string of liquor crimes in the North End where people were coming from Seattle, jumping on MTA, going to all the different grocery stores throughout Mason County, stealing alcohol, and then getting a free ride back to Kitsap County and taking the ferry boat over and selling it in Seattle. And we had to have people actually ride on the transit buses and get involved in that type of thing. And I hear complaints and I want to know more about it. I think it's a critical piece to our community and what we do. And that's why I expressed my interest and wanted to be educated and be involved.
All right, Sheriff, please describe your familiarity and understanding of the mission of the MTA.
I really have not read the mission statement. And that's one of those things that I know that you should always do if you're going to be interviewing, but I just haven't had time. I got back. There's no excuses. Anyway, I'm not super familiar with it.
Perfect answer.
So, what is your opinion of public transportation?
Again, I have so many different views on it. I don't understand some of why people travel for free. I don't understand some of the grants and the requirements. And those are things I want to be able to answer to the community because I get hit with questions all the time. Why is it that so free and I have to pay for my gas? I have to do this. Why? And those are questions I can't answer. And as a community leader, I feel like I should be able to. And even if I don't get selected for the board, I'm going to educate myself in this area so that I can better have hands-on and understanding.
Excellent. Okay, Sheriff, the board meets, now it meets at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, once a month. I think it's typically the third Tuesday of the month, or sorry, here, 1, 2, yep, third Tuesday of the month. 1 o'clock, typically at the transit center, but there are a couple of meetings throughout the county during the year as well. Is that a scheduling problem for you?
Not in normal circumstances, no. Obviously, if there's some type of crisis going on, I may not be able to attend, but for the most part, no.
Great. Do you have any conflicts of interest that might arise by serving on this board?
Not that I know of, no.
All right, Sheriff, here's the big one for you. Do you have any questions for us that would help you make up your mind on whether or not you feel that you want to be on this board?
And my question would be right back at you guys, at being board members, does it provide you obviously with the education, but also the understanding to be able to advocate for or against, and what benefits our community? What benefits would it be for the rest of the community if I served on the board, I guess is what I'm asking.
I'll go ahead and go first. The idea of having a direct line to law enforcement is kind of one of those no-brainers for the rest of us. We do deal with that in there. We have conversations about that over the years. The questions that you had or comments you had earlier about information you'd like to find out about, we actually had those open discussions. We were talking about the free fare and why the free fare, and the only place you're going to get that is being a part of it and attending there. The truth is, I don't know that we know all the benefits that could be for you being there until we have that tool in our toolbox that we can use once in a while.
Right.
I got to admit, I was probably a little more excited than most when I saw you put your name in, because of the obvious opportunities to work together and utilize transit to the best ability in the community, and with some of the bad sides that come with it. So yeah, that's mine. Commissioners, I think you should all weigh in on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think part of the perception of public transit is that, you know, that it isn't safe, that there aren't measures taken to provide security for transit users, and you know, and there's a lot of, I think, stereotypes and probably some misconceptions surrounding it. And so I think having you be a part of the discussion on that, whether that's in the capacity as a board member or just directly through your position as sheriff, I think would be a benefit to both the agency and the community. So, but I also agree with everything that Commissioner Evelyn also said as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything both of them said. I think that it would be a benefit. And I was also excited to see that you sent in your application. So I don't know that I could add anything more, but I do think that it would be, you would be a valued member on the board.
Well, we do have a lot of crimes associated with the park and rides as well, around and in, and those are all pieces that we deal with. And whether it be an abandoned vehicle left there that we have to deal with, or whatever it is, that's a partnership that'll benefit the community.
Do you have any other questions for us, Sheriff?
No, I do not.
All right, so I want to thank you very much for coming in, especially actually coming in to attend the meeting. We appreciate it. We'll be discussing this shortly, and we'll get back to you here with our decisions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
For sure.
Okay, so that brings us back to our regular meeting again, and I don't think we had anything more from support services. We're right on to commissioner discussions. Commissioner Schutte, I saw that you had a request for a letter that I was actually just reading on. I'll let you go ahead and do a presentation, but no brainer to me. I'm down.
Yeah, thank you. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The Port of Hoodsport is seeking funding to support repairing their dock in Hoodsport. And so Commissioner Kincannon had reached out to ask if we would be willing to sign on to that letter. They do need to have a response from us today. And just they're asking to include our logo on their letter of support. And so I know that's a little bit out of the norm for how we typically have a draft letter, and
but I think it is allowed though.
Right.
If we decide right here, in my opinion, you're right now, especially you're just giving them the ability to use our logo and support. I have absolutely no objection to that. Commissioner Trask, do you have any objection to them using our logo?
No, absolutely no objection at all. If we can support them in getting some extra funding or getting some funding, that's a no-brainer, as you said.
Yeah. Now, one of the problems that we have is on the signing of the letter, we can never sign it by all the commissioners without an action, but we usually would just have our administrator can sign on our behalf from this meeting, but at this moment, I don't know. Actually, they could do a DocuSign.
Yeah.
So perhaps we send that off, we agree that we send that off as a DocuSign to allow him to sign, acknowledging that our support for that project.
Yeah, Diane, is that something that you can help us coordinate with the board? I mean, I don't know that it needs to be that. I think it probably is as simple as just sending something over that we're in agreement. But
Yeah, if we need to have Mark sign it, I can, do that with DocuSign. But let's reach out and see if just getting our logo to them and letting them know that you support it, if that's enough.
Yeah, if it's the letter I was talking about, if we need a letter right away, but just the logo, I think we're all good there already.
Right, so we'll send that off because I'm not sure if Mark's scheduled today either. So, but we'll get the logo sent off to Port of Hoodsport. And I did want to ask about the MTA for the selection of.
Yes.
You have 2 positions. So do you want me, because you've had now, what, 6 applicants? I know Julie Tucson withdrew hers.
Yeah, I'm ready to move forward. Commissioners, are you ready to move forward with decisions? Do you have the names even in front of you?
I do. Yeah.
Then I'll go ahead and lead off. I think we're very lucky that the sheriff would be willing to even do that. We all know his competence anyway. We've known him through all his other actions. The ability to have that on our board, I just don't know how we could pass up on that opportunity. But how do you feel about that?
yeah, I'd certainly be comfortable putting Sheriff Sparrow.
Yep, as would I.
Okay, so that means we have one more position open, correct?
Correct.
I've got 2 that I looked at and I want to throw out there, and just the simple reasonings why. First of all, I felt that they were competent, but even more than that, you have what is it? Apparently a school board member, Richard Lee. We have school board members that are leaving, so I have him on there. Another one was Patrick O'Brien. The reason why is, and I've got it circled, the Lilliwap area. My gosh, you got an opportunity to grab one from the farthest regions of this organization. I see that as a great benefit. So those are 2 that I'm thinking, but I'd be open to anything and anybody. I have nobody that I have that I'll say no to, if you guys agree.
Yeah. I had oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Commissioner. I insist.
I had Richard Lee and Julie Tucson, but as the other 2, but since Julie withdrew, and I appreciate her being, on realizing her time restraints, but I would support Richard as the other spot also. I mean, Richard Lee. I guess there's 2 Richards on there, but Richard Lee.
And just for the record, I thought Julie Tucson did a great job. I was sad that she removed her name because that would have been another good one that we hadn't thought about through the PUDs. Yeah. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with appointing Mr. Lee as well.
And there we go.
Okay, I'll put that on next week's agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any further commissioner discussions? Hearing none, do we have any calendar updates anybody wants to throw out there?
I don't think so.
No.
Then I will entertain a motion.
We adjourned.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
See you later. See you tomorrow.